Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones. This evening's topic: you are what you attract. You are what you attract. Now, this is a video that basically piggybacks off the old saying, you are what you eat, but I am referring to relationships because a number of us tend to blame the other party for our own lack of function and dysfunction when it comes to relationships. And what I'm talking about is the type of person that you are seeking to become a partner. Now, relationships take work, and we all know that. But the bottom line is, the more we complain about the type of people we date, inside, we really want to date that person. Why? Because we're comfortable dating that person we're talking about. Now, within the black sector of YouTube, when it comes to black men and black women, well, like I told you before, I don't date the type of black women that most of these black men are talking about, because I don't live in that type of environment, and I will not live in that environment. That's why I always say, if you're dating ghetto type black women, then you must be ghetto yourself. Why? Because you keep dating the same type of woman, putting up with the same type of nonsense, and you are allowing it. Now, if you are a person of polish who's dating somebody that you believe is beneath you when it comes to morals and values, well, you're allowing that to come into your life, and I can't blame anybody but you. And that goes the same for women. You talk about the bad men out there, going back into the black community, number of black women are dating dysfunctional black men, and all they do is go back and forth with one another by blaming each other, faulting each other on why relationships don't work. Well, the bottom line, the reason why relationships don't work, it's because of both parties. Both parties are very delusional. They don't believe that they are wrong. They both want power and control over the relationship. And of course, they're both narcissistic, egotistical, and delusional. But the bottom line is, you got to ask yourself as a man or a woman, why do you keep running into the same types of people? The answer is very simple. Because that person that you're seeking is a direct reflection of you, because of your morals and values and your actions that you utilize in everyday life. Now, a lot of us do a lot of actions unconsciously because we're not aware of what we're doing, because we just don't pay attention. But when it comes to dating, and I've said this particularly in my 4-video series, The 65 Rules of Dating, when it comes to anybody, you must vet them. You must get an idea of who they are based on their actions, not by what they say. But when it comes to men and women of all races, we keep repeating the same cycle of dating dysfunctional people. Now, why are we dating dysfunctional people? Again, I just answered that for you, because we're very dysfunctional in our nature ourselves. In fact, when it comes to picking a partner, we're very superficial when it comes to picking a partner. We're not looking at the real qualities such as character, integrity, morals, and values. We're looking at money, body, looks, hairstyles, six-pack abs, being 6 feet tall. And at the end of the day, you can meet somebody who has all that with morals and values, but individuals, they're too lazy to go seek that person. In other words, when it comes to looking for that person, the reason why we'll never get the person we want, and we grumble about certain types of people, because we are what we eat. We're comfortable with dating dysfunctional people because we're dysfunctional. And let me tell you something as well. To get this out of the way, having a good job, having a good education does not entitle you to a relationship. You can still be dysfunctional because there are a number of men and women who believe that being a director of a company, having a PhD, being intellectual is going to get them that right person. No. In order to find the right person, you got to be the right person. Now, how do you become the right person? Very simple. You have to prioritize your life. You have to know what your worth is. You have to be confident in who you are. And a number of us don't know who we are because we're so busy putting the blame on others. As a man or as a woman, we have to understand that we are human and we make mistakes. And a real man and woman is not afraid to come to the table and say, I made a mistake. A number of us have too much pride. And when our pride and our ego get in our way, we become very dysfunctional, delusion, selfish, insecure, and we want to control the total relationship. And at the end of the day, that makes us somebody who is incapable to have a relationship. Now, I'm not saying that individuals have to be perfect, but when it comes to environment, many of us are comfortable dating individuals within our own environment. The problem is we're trying to change that person to what we want them to be. For instance, okay, if I'm a guy who comes from the country and I meet somebody who's from the ghetto, well, when I tell somebody something, am I telling that person to be something different? Or am I telling them to work on their morals and values? Now, that just depends on how you take it. But for the most part, many of us aren't telling individuals to work on their morals and values because it's not our job to be counselors. It's not our job to command people to do what we want them to do. Many of us want to mold people into what we want them to be. If you have to do that, there's always going to be resentment and constant conflict. So at the end of the day, what's really happening is, okay, if I'm from the country and this person is from the ghetto, we're just not compatible for one another. We should not be involved with one another because it's going to be a toxic relationship. And it could be a relationship based on a temporary situation, like this person needs a place to stay. They need money. He needs sex. You know, you ever heard FWB, friends with benefits? They're just temporary relationships. They're not real. Because at some point, one or both of you is going to get tired of that type of relationship and you're going to have resentment. And what's going to happen? You're going to carry that resentment to other relationships. And the cycle is going to go on and on and on and on until you die because you're not capable of having a relationship. But when I say you are what you attract, well, the type of person that you want, you really don't want, you think you want. You can't be comfortable with dating somebody out of your league. Let's say if you are a person who wants a dime, but you're not a dime. But this does happen, and this goes back to that delusion. You got men and women who aren't perfect themselves when it comes to looks, status, but they want the person that they're seeking to have everything. Now, what kind of sense does that make? You want the other person to be perfect while you stay to where you are. You're making irrational and unrealistic demands. demands that you can't keep. But when it comes to you are what you eat or you are what you attract, well, the reason why the conflict takes place between people in the same environment, because in reality, they can't get out of their own environment to date somebody else because they're too comfortable in their environment. So they are going to continue to date dysfunctional people. Why? Because both of these people are dysfunctional. If you live in a hood or if you live in a country and you come from an arena of dysfunction, you're always going to stay with dysfunction for the most part. Now, there are exceptions to the rules, but the reason why you're going to stay with dysfunction because that's all you know. See, when you get a number of the brothers and sisters going back and forth with each other here on YouTube, it's because they know nothing but drama. They're never going to find somebody outside of themselves. Why? Because if they do, they're going to bring that drama to the person who doesn't participate in the type of drama that they're bringing. Therefore, when you bring that negative energy to somebody else who doesn't deal with the drama and the negative behaviors that you deal with, well, you're going to cause that person to be toxic. This is why the individuals that you talk about, you're really talking about yourself. Now, again, relationships are very, very difficult. But you have to be able to work with the relationship. Now, there are some people who can get out of their situation. But the only way you can get out of this situation is that person must seek counseling to work on their mind. I don't care how much education, what kind of job you have, psychologically, if you're damaged, you're going to continue to be damaged. Why? Because that's all you know. You haven't been taught. When you're in one environment all your life, that's all you see. This is like some people who live in the city of New York. You have a number of them who haven't gotten out of the city of New York, and quite frankly, they don't even know what's going on around them because they've always been in New York. Well, that's the same when it comes to people who are intellectual, who are ghetto, who live in a trailer park. Wherever you live, you're comfortable interacting with what I call your peers. But if your peers are bringing you negative energy, I guarantee you're going to have that negative energy. Why? Because you feed off of each other. And in any situation, if your environment is very negative, you'll never grow. And the bottom line, when it comes to a relationship, you are what you eat. Well, basically, that is true. And again, why is it true? Because the way you talk about the dysfunctional people around you, you're pointing fingers. Trust me, they're pointing fingers back at you. You're one and the same. And the real part of this issue is you got to stop and take a look at yourself. What am I doing wrong? What do I have to do to change my behavior? Because let me tell you something. You can maintain your looks no matter what you use. But if you don't change your mindset, you're always going to be toxic. Because basically, when it comes to any relationship, we can talk about all the materials, all the looks, but when your mind isn't right, you're not going to be good to anybody, and that includes yourself. So what I caution individuals to do when it comes to seeking a partner, you got to seek yourself. You must be ready for a relationship. And to be ready, you must be responsible, have a good character. When I say education, you should be educated about the real world. Certainly, academic education is a tool. It could add some information to your repertoire. It could give you an advantage. But again, like I stated before, having a good education from a college and a good job in a director's position does not guarantee you a relationship. First of all, a big deal on why relationships don't work is, what do people really want from relationships? That's the key. Many of us in our minds really do know what we want, but we lie to get it. Let me be clear and crystal clear. A number of us who are looking for relationships, especially these days, we're looking for what we call FWBs, friends with benefits. Why? Because it's convenient. Most of these relationships today are relationships of convenience. They're temporary. This is why you have a number of serial daters. But at the end of the day, like I said in my videos dealing with smashing and dashing or pump and dump, those relationships never work out. Why do they not work out? Because they're not intended to work out. They're not long-term relationships. They're strictly for sexual stimulation. Now, of course, when it comes to a number of relationships, you are what you eat. Well, both men and women have narcissistic agendas. And the narcissistic agendas basically come down to sex and money, which makes relationships more or less legalized prostitution. And what do I mean by legalized prostitution? I'm talking about a woman is going to trade her body for your resources. A number of us, when we sit at the table with a woman, we basically will hear her gossip, but in our minds, we're thinking about her being naked in the bed next to us while we're going horizontal, up and down, until we ejaculate inside her. And then what happens after that? We'll either keep her or we'll go get somebody else. The women are the same way. Certainly they'll give us sex to shut us up, but basically they want the money for what they're giving us. This is why women believe that their vagina is more valuable than our penis. We've also believed in that scenario as well. That's why guys simp. But the bottom line, when you have individuals with that type of behavior, when it comes to seeking relationships, well, the relationships are always going to die. These types of people are always going to be looking for new partners. And that takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. But if you want a good relationship, you got to be a good person. And that's knowing yourself. Again, you have to know your fallacies. You have to understand that you're not perfect. Many of us go around with egos. We think we have all the answers. Trust me, we don't have all the answers. Relationships, remember, take two people. And when I say two people, I'm talking about two participating people. Because if you have one person doing all the work and the other person living off the fat of the lamb, what's going to happen? Well, there's going to be resentment. And at the end of the day, you basically have no relationship. You just have somebody with their hand out. But as an ordinary human being, we all have been in situations. I know I've been in my fair share of situations. But you always have to ask yourself, what do you have to do to get out of your situation? Especially if the situation is negative. Well, you got to put your pride down and seek help. Because you can talk about the bad men and bad women all you want. But at the end of the day, you're a bad man or bad woman because you keep chasing the bad men and bad women. And you're doing it at a constant rate, thinking that you're going to change the situation. You're not going to change the situation, but you can change your situation. If you're dating somebody and you're doing everything that you're supposed to do and the other person is showing unappreciation, now let me give you some examples. If you're a man or a woman and you're doing all the texting and all the calling, and that person shows a lot of disinterest, but you continue to date that person, well, okay, you're the fool. You can't complain about what that person is not doing because you are allowing that person to commit these narcissistic acts. Because again, I've always stated this. Don't make somebody a priority when they only make you an option. You have to look at people's actions, and that includes your action. Too many of us will say and do anything for the sex and the money. We look at relationships as something to do. But the people that we're seeking are supposed to be a direct reflection of us, and they are. And that's based off of the environment. And that's the same way you go when you date interracially. That's right. You can go out there thinking that another race is better, but what I see, particularly from the black race, when they date, they basically date people of a different race, but have the same attitudes. Now, you've heard that black men date large white women. Well, the type of white women that they date, particularly guys who are from the ghetto, well, their attitude is the same as that person who's black from the ghetto. So the only thing you have done was change the color or race, but you haven't changed the behavior. And I've seen the same thing when it comes to black women. Okay? You've dated black men who were thugs, and then you've gone out with some white men who are just as bad. Because the one who lives in a trailer park is the same as the brother in the hood. They're just on opposite sides of the coin. So even when you date interracially, if you're stuck in your own environment, well, guess what? Until you go to a different environment by changing your outlook on life, you're going to be stuck with dating dysfunctional people because you're dysfunctional. Again, relationships are a lot of work, but they're not difficult. They're only hard if you don't want to do anything to make the relationship work. But when it comes to that person or people building a relationship, first, you got to start off with you as a man and as a woman. You have to be realistic about what you want. And then that person must be realistic about what they want. You must be interdependent. Not independent, but interdependent. You must understand that both of you should be compatible, but you're also going to bring some different traits to the relationship to build a better bond. But again, If you're constantly complaining about the men and women you're dating, I would sit down and take a look at where I am in life. Because if I'm in the same environment, which is my comfort zone, because many of us, no matter what it is, we like to stay in our comfort zone. And when we stay in our comfort zone, that's what gives us all of the trouble. You got to think outside the box, because everything is not going to be as routine as it seems. And besides changing your mindset, you should also change your character, because that's what should be brought into the relationship. Not what a person has, not what a person looks like. Of course, you want somebody that you're going to be attracted to, but a person could be a dime and they're not good with solving problems. That's going to be a problem. But you as an individual must be confident in yourself. You must be realistic and understand that you as a human being make mistakes and don't require any more from a person than you can give. Because that's not a relationship. That's more or less narcissism. And you're using that person to get what you want from them. And so you can't come to the relationship seeking control. Control just won't work. And there are a number of us out there who want control. This is why we use the shaming tactics. This is why we have a number of imperfect people seeking perfect people. That doesn't make sense. There doesn't have to be a war between both genders out there if they're honest with each other. And my answer to the whole solution is that men and women of today really don't want relationships. They act like they want relationships. Now, of course, there's an exception to the rule. But if men and women of today truly wanted relationships, they would do what they need to do. They wouldn't be making excuses on why you can't call somebody, why you can't see somebody. There's not that much busyness in the world. But because men and women of today aren't honest with themselves, they're going to continue to lie, and we're going to have more and more dysfunctional relationships. Because a number of us like dysfunction, because it's entertainment. We're not serious about relationships. And when we're not serious about relationships, and we meet somebody who is serious about relationships, well, what we're doing, we're bringing our negativity of not being serious about relationships to somebody who is serious about relationships. And when we feel a person who is serious about relationships head with negativity, they're going to also get it, as I said in this video, they're going to repeat the same cycle. So I want to reiterate to y'all, it's not that there are no good men and women out here. They are. But you have a number of men and women who are in the 80% looking for the top 20%, which makes no sense. If you are in the 80%, you should be looking for the 80%, because that's where the compatibility is. And remember something as well. Relationships shouldn't be based on materials. It should be based on nurturing, partnership, intimacy, character, truth, honesty, sincerity, trust. It should be mental, psychological. And if you have all those characteristics, of course, there are more to be named, you'll have a healthy relationship. But for any reason, You're not willing to get out of your own comfort zone to find a relationship? Well, guess what? You are always going to be what you attract. And it's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show for this Good Friday, March 30th, 2018. You can tune into the 411 Talk Zone radio show every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. Guest calling number is 215-383-5785. Though I have been doing my Blog Talk Radio shows on Sunday since I've been busy. I'm going to have the show next week on the 8th, and I'm going to talk about why people cheat. So again, if you want to get in on a call, the guest calling number is 215-383-5785. Of course, if you like my videos, please share and subscribe to the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube so I can continue to give you quality information for educational purposes from a professional and mature perspective. Now, on my channel, I do not engage in debates, controversy, or emotional issues, and that just depends on how you, as the audience member, receive the information. Again, my channel is for people who are looking for awareness. This is an educational awareness channel. I don't participate in any drama or unnecessary bickering because it is counterproductive. Again, I just want to reiterate, if you're looking for the drama, if you're looking to bicker, and if you're looking not to stay on the topic, and you're that ignorant, this channel's not for you. Don't waste your time. But if you're looking for knowledge and how the real world works, self-awareness, and some positivity with realistic issues, well, the 411 Talk Zone radio show channel is for you because I provide you with knowledge that's positive and realistic. And when you have knowledge, you have power. And if you have a topic, a new YouTube channel or business that you would like for me to discuss on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, please email me at lej6521@gmail.com. And if you have a comment, please leave your comments in the comment section under the video. But make sure that your comments are pithy. No bloviating, pettifogging, or filibustering if you wish to opine. Now that's it for this video. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. Remember, please be gentle and respectful to each other and have a wonderful and blessed Good Friday and good night.